Alright guys, so let's take a look at some code where we talk more about static and kind of the differences between static and non-static. So we'll start with our traditional non-static instance variables. We're going to make a simple human class, and each human is going to ideally have a name and have an int for age. Okay, so when I'm just setting these up, we've done these a million times before, and let's just make, a pretty simple constructor where we go ahead and input these. So we'll set up our name to be the input to this. We'll set up the age to be the second input to this. Okay, now when we write like non-static methods, there's nothing particularly different here, right? We've been doing this all along. So we could have like the public string for get name. And I'll capitalize that in just a minute. And all that would just do is just return the name. Okay, and if we want to like change someone's name because you realize your parents made a mistake or something, you could do, like a public void change name where you input some new name, and then you would go ahead and set the name to be new name, right? There's nothing new here. I'm just doing, this is the same stuff we've always done. Okay, but now let's talk about static variables. So when you have a static variable, it is defined outside of all methods, just like a normal instance variable. And you put the keyword static in front. Also, and this is key, make sure that you give it an initial value at the beginning. So what kind of static variables would we want? So a static variable might be a property of the entire class. Okay, so for example, let's say we wanted to count how many people there are. Well, that's not something that like each person has their own population, right? The entire human race has a population. So we might set up, for instance, we got to make it static. We might set up a static population to equal 0. Okay, and I should also not be terrible and declare it as an integer. So this would represent how many human objects exist. So I could change it like any other variable though. So if I want to change a static variable, that's the same as always. I could just go ahead and, every time I make a new human, I'm going to add one to the population. So in my constructor, for example, so when I create a new human, I do this line of code to change the static variable. Okay, another use of static variables is you might also have a constant that is used throughout the class. So maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason humans are going to use pi. Well, instead of having to declare a different pi for each individual object, it makes more sense just to have one copy of pi. So I could have like a static double, maybe a static final, I don't remember which one goes first, pi, and that would be 3.14159 or whatever. Let's see if it likes it. Okay, yeah, so static before the final, that's fine. So those are examples of why you might want to use static variables. Okay, now again, notice that I'm using the keyword static and I'm giving them a value. Now, when you want to write a static method, so a static method just has the keyword static in front. And in terms of writing the method, there's nothing new here whatsoever. So we might have public static int for get population. So all this would do is this would just return the value of that static variable. So this is basically just an accessor for the static variable. All right, so that's one example of what we could have there. Now I can get a little fancier. I can write a public static, like, okay, as you guys know, after humans get made and live a little while, they die. So let's say we want to have a way to kill off a person. Well, what we might do, that would probably be non-static. So you can also kill an individual human and change the overall population. So what you could do is, okay, maybe like you could change both types. So when we kill a person off, maybe we set the age to -1 just to denote they're dead. But you can also change the static variable as you go. So we could say, like, let's just take the population here and subtract 1 from it after someone gets killed off. So That's an example of what you can do in terms of changing static variables. And again, this is how you set up non-static methods, and this is how you set up static methods. Okay, now let's go ahead and get to the driver, right? How do we call these methods? And let's go ahead, now I've set this up, and let's do this in another tab just so we can see. So I'm just setting up a main method here. So one interesting thing is, and you guys actually know this, is you can call static methods without ever declaring an object. So if you just want to check the population, you can just do system.out.println. Okay, now again, you call the static method through the name of the class. So this is public class human. So if I want to get the population, I do human.getPopulation. Now I haven't created any humans yet, so that's how we'll do it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually create some objects. So we'll do human h1 equals into human. Okay, you just do the name and then age. So I'll make myself, because I'm egotistic, I don't know how old I am. That sounds about right. So now let's see. I created another human last year with the help of my wife. So let's make Wesley. He just had his first birthday. Very exciting. And then we almost named Wesley Kyle. I'm glad we didn't, by the way. So let's make another kid named Kyle there. Okay. Now, if I want to call methods on these, we've done that a million times, right? We just do h1. Like if we want to print out, for example, Wesley's age now, we could just do like h1 dot get age. If I want to change my name, I don't know what's wrong here. No, yeah, I didn't write that method. Okay, so we'll do a get name because I'm an idiot apparently. But if we wanted to like change Wesley's name, well, we don't want to do that. But if I want to change my name, we can do like h1.change name to be, I don't know, King Boris. I've always wanted to be a king of something. So that's how you would set that up. Okay, now, so look, when you're calling a static method, you do this. And I want you to see, after we've created 3 people, the static variable has changed. So after we create these 3 people, the static variable is now updated. So when I call human.getPop, it should be 3. Now again, let's kill off Kyle. Kyle never actually existed, right? So h3.kill, and now we can see again the population will update. Now again, notice that there's only one population, right? So if we print this out multiple times, we're just going to get the same value multiple times. And let me show you that. Oh, wrong one. Where are we at here? Yeah, okay. So if we want to do this, like printing it out is just 0. Okay, and then we have 3, and then we killed off Kyle, and now we're back to 2. But notice again, each object has their own version. So if you tried to print out, for example, h2.getName, Wesley has a different name than I do, so that of course will print out something that's completely different if I can not lose it for a sec. Okay, yeah, so we have different names. All right, so that's the basics of setting things up and why you might want to use a static variable or a static method for something like that. Okay, couple other things I wanted to show you. First off, this is like pretty cool actually. So you guys have seen, well, actually, let's get some questions here. And the first thing is, do you guys see like why I'm specific about like your method needs to be static or your method doesn't need to be static? Because like, say I ask you, say I want you to write a static main method and you don't make it static. Because I don't know, you're lazy, you can't read or whatever. So if I try and call, like, I don't know, in my grading program, when I try and call like your static method, like let's say I try to do human.getName. Now, this is going to give me an error, and let's talk about what this error says. It says non-static method getName cannot be referenced from the static context. So it's saying getName is not a static method, but you called it as if it was. So this doesn't compile. And the reason here is Java thinks, which name are you talking about? So like, I can't call a static method like that, or I can't call a non-static method because like, which human do I want to get the name of? It's not clear, right? Every human has their own name. So if you just try and call it through the name of the class, Java doesn't know which one you're talking about. So that's why it's very specific about that. And it's not sure which one you're referring to and makes you create an object to call a non-static method. You must create object first. Okay, so then I want to ask a couple questions. So the next one is, can a static method use a non-static instance variable? And that's something you can think about for a minute, and now let's go ahead and test it. So let's say in my static method here for get population, let's say I'm a moron, so I just want to like add 1 to age. This is something you're going to see doesn't actually compile. And it gives you something similar. It says non-static variable age cannot be referenced from a static context. And it's the same thing. Like, this won't compile. And again, because of the same error, which age are you talking about? Because if I could call this method, and I can call this method, I can call this method before I even create a human object. So which age would I be changing? There aren't any humans yet, there aren't any ages. So that's why you're not allowed to call, or you're not allowed to access a non-static instance variable if you're in a static method. Answer is no. Which one? There might not even be any. Okay, and then the other way though is, can a non-static method use a static variable? And the answer to that, of course, is yes. Look at the kill method. So in that kill method, we can actually access the static variable because it belongs to the whole class. The static variables belong to the entire class. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you guys today was just something cool that BlueJ has. So as you guys know, you can create a quick object here by just right-clicking and say, I'm going to make a new human, Josh. And Josh is like 234 or something. Now, when you call methods on Josh, like when you call, Josh's name, it tells you that. When you call like change name, you call that through Josh. But a static method doesn't belong to Josh. The static method belongs to the entire class. And that's why the static methods appear when you click on the whole class. So if you want to call getPop, the static method, it belongs to the class itself, not necessarily the objects down here. Now, one thing I'll point out, if you keep making new humans here, Java actually will keep updating the static variable. So getPop is now 2. If you want to reset that, you just hit this button and it'll be back to 0 to reset. I just think it's cool how Java shows the static methods through the class and the non-static methods through the individual object. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.